Hello and welcome back to the Coffee Days podcast with Georgia Batocco, where I will be your host. We're in the Let's Catch Up over coffee era, so grab yourself your favourite coffee and come and join me. So in today's episode, I am trying to tread carefully on the words I use, try not to get into too much detail and say certain things because I feel like it can be a bit controversial, and I'm still just kind of learning what I can say online and in public, and I don't want you guys to come at me, so I'm being a little bit careful with how I word stuff, but I do feel like this conversation is extremely important and I would love to have it with you guys. Secondly, I'm recording a little bit earlier than normal, so there is a lot of traffic outside and there is a bloody construction site going on right outside my apartment, so if there's some banging and you can hear the buses or whatnot, then I do apologize. But anyway, with that said, and my laptop going off, I should put that on silent. Okay, let's get started, guys. So today I want to talk about the ways in which some men can make women feel uncomfortable. I'm going to tell you a story of a time when I have personally experienced this, and then I want to discuss this further, whether it be a wolf whistle, catcalling, physical unwanted attention, etc. We are seeing way too much of this and it's quite frankly out of hand. And therefore, I feel like these conversations are very important to have. Today we are going to discuss inappropriate behaviour from men, but on a smaller scale to some of the horrific stories I have read about in the news recently. Now, remember, I am not qualified in this field. This is just me sharing my thoughts and stories, and I'd honestly love to hear your guys' thoughts and theories and stories and everything about this behaviour also. Also, please note that I said some men. I absolutely know this isn't all men, and I want to clear up that I am not a man hater, and I appreciate men and have some great men in my life, but we can't ignore the fact that there are still too many men that act in this way. I'm going to be discussing today. So as I mentioned before, I think this is a very important conversation to be had. I will also be doing an episode at some stage of how women can make men feel uncomfortable and discussing the effects both of these issues are having on society. So once again, to clear it up, no, I do not hate all men, and I think a lot of them are great. Anyway, let's get on with it, and I'm now going to share with you one of my stories. It was a beautiful sunny day here in Sydney. I had finished my morning workout and was ready to throw on my bikini to head down to the nearest beach to relax for the day in the sunshine. It was a Saturday, and if you don't already know, then I'll tell you that the eastern suburb beaches can get pretty jam-packed over the weekends and holidays. I wasn't really in the mood to be around a bunch of people. I kind of just wanted to stick on my AirPods and listen to a podcast in peace and quiet. So I headed to a more isolated spot. Now this area still had the odd person walking through it and looks out to the beaches where you can still see everyone, but it's up away from the water. So on a hot day like it was that day, most people want to be on the sand, so it's easy access to the water. Anyway, so I lay out my towel, get myself comfortable and put on my AirPods whilst listening to a podcast, sipping my iced latte. I hope I'm setting the scene for you guys. Anywho, I had been chilling for a couple hours at this stage, listening to my favourite podcast, sun beaming down on me. But then I just had this feeling like there was someone else around. You know when you can just sense somebody else is in your presence? Now this spot is surrounded by bushes. So at first I was thinking maybe it was just the wildlife in the bushes, rustling around. But then out of nowhere, some guy just walks out of the bush and starts walking towards me. Now, gals, I'm sure a lot of you that chill around the eastern suburb beaches have experienced a guy coming up and trying to grab your number. I don't know, it just seems like it's happens a lot down there. Anyway, so I was kind of thinking that was what was going to happen. He's coming towards me. I can see he's about to approach me. So he comes over, and at first he's just doing the whole small talk, talking about the weather. I just act pretty dismissive because I was just trying to relax. I'm not being rude, but I just wanted to relax by myself. But at this stage, I didn't feel like I was in any kind of danger. So then he's like looking down at me, and then he looks at the sun cream, and then like looks at me again, and I'm thinking, like, he's just not saying anything, he's just looking at the sun cream, looking at me. And then he's like, do you want me to put some sun cream on you? Oh yeah, sure. Just put some on. Like, no, I do not want you to put some sun cream on me. But anyway, like, what kind of man comes over to a young woman laying on her own in her bikini and asks that? I mean, before any of you say, oh, well, maybe he was just being nice, like, you can tell if someone is being genuine or not. And this whole situation just felt bad at this point. And surely, like, most men can appreciate this would make someone feel uncomfortable, like, whether man or woman, like, it's just like, you don't want a stranger touching you and putting sun cream on you. So, of course, I replied that I was okay, and I tried to shut down the conversation. But then he proceeded with, oh, why not? Are you shy? Like, sorry, am I shy? No, I just don't want a stranger touching me and putting sun cream on me. So, as I try and say this, he's kind of getting closer to me, and it's like he's actually going to like reach down and grab me or my stuff or the sun cream, but he's getting closer to me. Now remember, I'm in a pretty isolated spot, so I begin to start feeling really uncomfortable at this stage, and I just had this horrible feeling something was off. He then started asking that I was, like, it felt like he was trying to like suss me out. He started asking kind of like what I was doing there and if I was on my own. So of course I just responded with like I was waiting for a friend. Like I said, it felt like he was trying to suss out the situation. And once I said I was waiting for a friend, he walked away. But he didn't walk away like through the path, like the normal path people use to get to this spot. He like walks away back into the bushes. But like as he's walking off into the bush, he's just staring back at me, like the whole time, just looking at me as he slowly disappears into the bush. Very strange. And even once I couldn't see him, I still felt like he was still there. That kind of feeling I had initially when I hadn't seen him yet, but I felt like somebody was there watching me. Very, very strange scenario. Now, guys, you have to remember, like, when you're reflecting and, like, talking about this story out loud, it may not feel like it was uncomfortable, but you have to imagine someone on their own in an isolated spot, and there's a man asking something like that, which I don't know, the men I know wouldn't be going up to some gal on her own asking to put sun cream on them. Well, I bloody hope they wouldn't. So, you know, it was just uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable. So, of course, once he disappeared, I grabbed my things and I got out of there straight away. Like, I'm not one to feel, like, scared. Like, I'm very independent and, you know, I do things by myself. But in that situation, I did feel a little bit in danger. So I couldn't help but feel like this may have happened before. I feel like I definitely wasn't the first person or the last person this guy is asking to put sun cream on, you know? So I tried to do the whole Google and see if any other stories came up, like, you know, like watch out for this guy, but I couldn't find anything. But if you guys who are listening do live in the eastern suburbs and have had a similar situation, please reach out to me. But yeah, like I couldn't help but feel like he had other intentions that day. So, after reflecting on this situation and similar events, which I won't be getting into today, I decided to do some research to find out just why some men may act in this way. So let's discuss this and break it down. As I was researching and reading psychologist studies on the matter, there was some ideas that kept coming up as to why a man may behave in this way. I'm going to discuss them with you now. The ideas I found were that some men that may be most likely to behave in this way still believe in extreme and strict gender roles. Now, I personally believe there is still a place for healthy traditional gender roles to help society have some sort of order. However, you have to understand expected gender roles look different across all cultures. So right now I'm talking about the men that understand and believe gender roles are purely that women are inferior to men, and therefore the misuse of power dynamics may happen. which will then cause a ripple effect, leading to women being mistreated. They may have grown up in a culture where they learned that this is how you assert dominance and show masculinity. This behaviour may even increase their social status amongst other men in their culture. So, let's bring this back to the guy who asked me if he could put sun cream on me. Did it make him feel superior knowing that I felt uncomfortable and vulnerable? Or did he believe that asserting his dominance in this way could attract me as a potential romantic partner? Because what I found interesting whilst doing my research was that genuinely some men, and again, maybe down to their cultural beliefs and what they learn and get taught, misread signs and may even think that the female is in fact actually interested. Either or, the studies showed that men in a position of higher power were more likely to behave in this way. Something else I found interesting was that not only is this behaviour a lot down to misuse of power dynamics, but also down to, well, the obvious really, sexual desire. Some men may argue this is down to their biological instincts. Either way, you see, when sexual desire comes into it, emotion begins to override logic. Let me repeat that. Emotion begins to override logic. Maybe this person's needs are not being met sexually. When a man's or anyone really, emotion begins to override their logic, they will be willing to lose it all just to have their needs met. If you don't agree, all you need to do is look at your own life. I am sure you'll be able to think of a time that you or somebody you may know proceeded doing something even though you knew it was wrong. So bringing it back to the guy in my story, maybe he felt aroused by seeing girls in bikinis. Maybe his sexual needs weren't being met, and therefore he was testing the waters. I don't know. I mean, you could say a simple solution to the issues I have discussed would be better education and learning control. But are these such simple solutions if we are still facing these problems today? Again, I don't know. And you may ask why I bother to look into the why of these behaviours, and you may feel that we should just accept this behaviour as bad, no matter the why. Although I am not making excuses for the men that act in this way, I do know that I'm sure the vast majority of people would like to put an end to these behaviours so society can be a better place. And so in order to solve something, you first need to understand it. At the end of the day, no matter the situation, girl or boy, a very simple social skill would be sensing when you are making someone else feel uncomfortable. If someone else is proceeding with a situation that is clearly making someone feel uncomfortable and they are aware of this, then there is something wrong and they potentially could have a hidden agenda. What do you guys think? I'd love to continue this conversation and hear your guys' theories, stories, what you think might be the solution. At the end of the day, this isn't me saying what's this or that or I'm just opening the conversation. I think it's an important one to have. And yeah, I think it's so important to do your research on this kind of behavior. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up here. Guys, it is so hot right now in Sydney. I think the other day it was literally 40-something degrees, and I am sweating. I have no aircon in my apartment, so I rely on my fan, which I don't put on when I'm recording because I don't want it to ruin the sound, so I need to go and put my fan on. Which is actually another point, guys. If you want to head on to Instagram and give me a little follow, I upload some clips and stories. So my handle is @thecoffeeclub_podcast. So go give me a follow, and I apologize if on my little clips I'm a sweaty mess because, as I said, it is so hot right now in Sydney. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.